Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Your Salesforce Journey. Today we have with us Rupesh. He's a Salesforce MVP, TDX speaker, and a Senior Salesforce Architect. So let's dive into a conversation with him. Thanks for joining us today for Your Salesforce Journey podcast. It is amazing to have you here.
Thank you, Sanjeet, for hosting me.
So Rupesh, we would like to start with, maybe your journey in how did you land into the Salesforce ecosystem? I'm sure you didn't start with Salesforce. So we would like to know more about it.
So I started in 2006, fresh out of college. I was not into any of the top engineering colleges. This was in Mumbai specifically, we have a grading system for colleges back then. So I was one of the B grade colleges out there. So there was no campus placements as such. So I had to actually go out and look out for jobs. Luckily for me, I was able to crack my first interview itself and got into a job within 3 days of completion of my exams. Literally in 10 days, I was in a corporate job. Didn't had any kind of break after engineering. Just directly went into the corporate lifestyle. I started off as a web developer, editing XML pages. Slowly or soon, I transitioned into a .NET developer because editing XML pages was not kind of exciting work, and I always wanted to do programming. I mean, the whole thought process for me to enter into an engineering degree in information technology was that I will be able to code. Right? That's the mindset with which we kind of went through the engineering, that we have to code. So taking that forward, I got myself enrolled into a .NET programming course outside in a private institute, and then that helped me to secure my second job within 8 months as a .NET developer. I kind of moved very quickly into the .NET world because the basic concepts around programming were fundamentally strong. I was able to understand the whole MVC pattern with which the apps were built on .NET, whether it was website or mobile apps. Kind of able to grasp it very quickly and move forward. Soon moved into a team lead role. Been with that organization for almost 2-3 years before I actually started questioning that .NET is a very competitive world out there, right? There were like hordes of developers turning up for an interview slot, which is meant for, let's say, 5 open positions. You'll have 500 people lining up for those interviews. That's where I strategically kind of reflected on it and took that decision that I want to move into something which is more of a long-term investment in terms of building my skills. So there was this company out there, which was a mid-sized IT company, big enough for me from where I was working in smaller setups. They were offering a cross-training kind of a course into PeopleSoft, which is an ERP. And back then, this company was known for its ERP implementation. So, and specifically for people. So I thought it's a good move. At least I'll learn something new and let's start exploring something. So they asked me to sign up for a 2-year contract, which I know many people would feel not comfortable signing up something like that, which means that you are financially obligated to pay up some amount if you break that contract. If not, if you serve the full 2-year period, then you're out of it, right? So back then, even like I had to get it signed from my friend's father because he had a proper job and he had IT returns so that he can legally sign that document. So I took help from others to get me into that job, and I went through the whole training of 1 month of PeopleSoft. And then I was really looking forward to explore PeopleSoft, learn PeopleSoft on the job. To my surprise, I was given a project which was not that great. It meant like I had to upload an Excel file and do a status reporting on that job. Which again, coming from a .NET background where I had done all kinds of development, led the team, I was more into hands-on stuff rather than doing some a 10-minute job and then doing status reporting and then relaxing for the whole day. I was not meant for that. Like I was very passionate, aggressive on how I'm looking at my career because there was a lot at stake back home as well, and I had to prove myself to, and there was this urge to get financially stable, right? And I think most of our dev community who are out there from 0 to 4 years, 5 years, kind of are in that bracket where there is this urge to become financial stable, and we kind of pick our choices based on the options that we have, right? So now I had the option whether to react, break the bond, or to go and ask someone, right? And I choose, I was not financially that well where I could pay that amount. So I walked up to my CRM lead back then, and I got into a one-on-one conversation with her, explained her my background, what I've done for last 4 years into the .NET space, the skills that I have carried forward, gave her a clear commitment that I'm here to learn. Give me a project implementation work where I can learn something on PeopleSoft, or give me something back into .NET, right? Because that's the skill I had back then. So they tried me out for some reporting requirements on .NET for some of their internal assets, which they were happy with. After 4-week period, she came back and say, okay, have you tried Salesforce, or have you heard about it? I said, no, I've never heard about it. But this was back in 2010. She said, okay, go ahead and explore about it. We want to start a team. We don't have anyone who has looked at it. We are getting like proposal request from the clients, but we don't have anyone who can respond to it. So I said, okay, fair enough. Let me go and explore it.
Were you at? Like 4 or 5 years of experience you had already?
I had 2006 to 2010. So I have 4 years of experience. I was pretty new to the tech landscape, I would say, because all I had done was .NET programming. I had not done anything else. And a bit of SQL. I was very good at SQL as well. So I've written very complex stored procedures back then. And the place where I was working for .NET, it was primarily for exhibitions and event management. So right from barcode, printing, scanning of badges, the whole event management lifecycle, I've kind of lived through it during my .NET days. So getting into an exhibition hall, setting up computers, setting up networks, setting up photo folders so that we can get the badge. When we scan any badge, we get their live photos onto the feed, right? All of those crazy stuff I've done in the past. So I had done a lot of groundwork before I ended up here in this big size IT company, right? And I was very confident on my skill set. And I knew whichever way you guide me, you give me a good stuff to learn, and I will learn and prove myself. So that confidence I had. What I have seen over the years is people are not, first they hesitant to ask something, right? They will not get into a conversation with the practice lead or the CRM lead asking for something, right? They think that either the management will get offended by your ask, or you will be having a negative impact of those questions, right? And I was very fearless in that sense, right? I was very confident on my abilities, skills, passion to learn, curiosity to explore more. That kind of led me to Salesforce, right? And when I looked around, I started asking my limited friends I had, and they were clueless about it. I Googled about it. I somehow ended up getting access to training videos, which was Salesforce used to conduct classroom trainings back then, before the invent of Trailhead and all of that, right? And these were paid training lectures. Someone might have uploaded it on internet, which I don't know whether it was legal or illegal, but I got access to them. I kind of went through each and every training video. It was a 26 training video series. It had 26 videos. Each video was varying from, let's say, 50-minute to 90-minute. That was the video length. So during my job, I kind of, a very old-fashioned way, right, started writing down notes. For every slide they used to explain, I started taking my own notes. I still have those books somewhere, right? This was way before, like, and then after going through those videos, I had the Salesforce Fundamentals ebook, a PDF version of it. I got it from the online. I went through the whole recruiting app process, did some hands-on, and then I was confident, okay, I should do Dev 401, which was like the entry-level cert back then, Dev 401. So January 10, 2011, after 4 months of self-learning, I had the courage to attend my certification, and I cleared it. And then I was like, now I need projects. So I went back to the CRM lead. I said, okay, I'm a certified person now in your practice. I know there was no one around Salesforce, not a single person who knows Salesforce, not a single project we have, but I am a certified person sitting in your organization. So you give me whatever you have, right? So she started involving me into the proposal phases. I started doing raw estimates. So that was my first exposure on how to do raw estimates grounds up based on requirements that you get. How do you do resource loading? How do you think about different phases of the projects? Still very raw at that point in time. So got to learn a lot of new stuff outside of programming, which helped me. I started, still 2 years was a long time, right? I was still new into this organization, roughly 4-5 months passed, and I still had to spend like the next 18 months trying to survive because I didn't have the amount to pay, right? To be honest. Next 6 months, it was more of trying to win projects. I got into some smaller projects, which was more for educating the fellow team members on Salesforce or doing some kind of support work, right? Kind of did tidbits here and there. And then I was running out of my patience. So in between, I started looking out for jobs, right? I did get through some of them, but again, the amount I didn't had. So I kind of refrained from breaking that labor bond, right?
But you
I'm
were
a firm believer persistence will take you to places, right? So this persistence of mine that I will stick to Salesforce, I will learn, I will explore, got me into a project where I was doing some testing project where someone else was implementing Salesforce. We were engaged to do QA part of that project, and I was leading that because I knew basics of Salesforce. So I was removed from that project, parachuted into a team which was supporting Siebel project for a big client in US from last 5 years, right? And I was brought into because they had taken a last minute decision of moving from Siebel to Salesforce. And I was like right into the mix of everything. I was their team lead, tech lead, architect, everything, right? That project kind of gave me the best in the world experience because project was actually implemented by a company called Model Metrics, which was acquired by Salesforce back then. We had the lead architect from that company who is a CTA. He was one of the OGs from the CTA group back then itself. So I got to work with that person hand in hand, knowing the basics and the best practices to follow at each phases of the project. And that gave me a completely different experience and exposure on how to go about Salesforce projects. So I devised a strategy for my team. Like everyone is new to Salesforce. So 9 to 11, you'll get training from me on basics of Salesforce fundamentals. Mm-hmm. And then 11 to 8, we'll work on a project, doing some practical stuff. It is during this project where I explored Informatica hands-on. I developed integrations on Informatica Power Center. So the whole transition from your Siebel to Salesforce meant your integration had to be reworked and remapped. Again, on Informatica side, the team which was working was never worked on Salesforce. So I had to literally work with them, understand bulk APIs, understand how error handling would work, right? So I was front and center of everything that was happening on that project.
So
it was a year-long project.
Back then was like this intense, or it was very less comparatively?
Sorry, I missed the initial few words.
I'm saying that Salesforce documentation on maybe bulk API and stuff like that was pretty available, or was it like less and you had to explore and get your hands dirty on it?
Yeah, so it was available, but it was not. I mean, Trailer was obviously not there. So help.salesforce.com did exist back then as well. Documentation was available. Again, I was doing more of Google and going to the links wherever I landed up with because I was very new to the whole setup. Again, back then, 2010 is where I think in the parallel world community started growing in India, and I was not aware of it, right? I was into my own stuff. When I delivered the project, initial 6 months, my entire team was against me because I was making them to work or learn something new. And they felt someone has come in from outside and they're trying to disrupt their whole work schedule. By the end of the project, everyone was like perfectly gelling well within a team environment, and everybody was thankful that I got them into Salesforce or I introduced them to the Salesforce so that now they have built their good careers on Salesforce. So that whole experience of training plus doing a hands-on implementation, and it was a big global implementation, right? So initial APAC rollout was led by Model Metrics. We were the second fiddle, trying to learn from them. After APAC successfully got rolled out, it was time to roll out to the global geographies as well. And we take the front fiddle, and the Model Metrics took a backseat because everything was kind of templatized, right, for a global rollout. So then we took a first driver's seat and drove the whole project from there onwards. Now, this whole experience taught me many lessons, many things. It was in this project where I learned that you shouldn't have live email IDs in a sandbox because emails got triggered during one of the integration testing, right? So we did some of the blunders. We learned on the way, right? But all of that helped me to put my mind and thoughts in the proper place on how to approach a big Salesforce project. And after that, there was no looking back, right? This project gave me my first ever opportunity for US. First time I ever traveled to US for a 3-month assignment, doing the discovery along with that team, doing UAT along with that team, right? So I was deep hands-on onto everything around Salesforce on that big project. That was really the game changer, as you say, in someone's career, right? The pivoting moment. That project was a pivoting moment in my career. Post then, after that project got over, I kind of moved into a different organization. Did a lot of pre-sales over there. Did a lot of. It was an European-based large-size IT company. So we did a lot of European projects, proposals. Went through the whole pre-sales cycle. One of the pre-sales which I was leading got converted into a project. I went on to deliver that project end to end. Post that delivery, I moved on to another organization where I spent the challenge for me back then was I've done a lot of these global implementations, at least a handful of them. Now I want to explore something more. Mm-hmm. So then I had a small flavor of building teams at the first company where I started with Salesforce. Now there was this another mid-sized IT company. It was a large manufacturing conglomerate from India who wanted to set up their Salesforce practice. I joined them. In next 4 years, we grew that number from single digit to 200 plus, right? I was the lead architect across all their major accounts. I went through pre-sales, through delivery challenges. I was kind of running everything for them, doing project management, delivery management, architecture, discovery sessions, client stakeholder management. Again, there were some experiences which kind of helped me solidify my understanding of Salesforce. And remember, all through these years, Salesforce itself was now going through a lot of changes, right? Trailhead came in, a lot of the super badges concept came in, Visual Force to Lightning kind of transition happened through these years, right? So a lot went through as I moved through these different companies. And in 2018, I got into my current company, which is one of the global consulting firms. Mm-hmm. And here, right now, I'm leading a architect group within Salesforce. So that's something which is now keeping me motivated and challenging enough, right, to kind of not just focus on my career, but to mentor and motivate the next gen architects within the group, right, so that they get the similar exposure, the similar challenges to work with, so that they can build their careers out of it. So that's right now which is keeping me on my toes, apart from regular client work which I've been doing over the years, right? So that's where I am right now. Pretty happy and content with where I am today. A lot of gratitude with all the lessons that I've learned, all the peers that I've worked, all the companies who have engaged with me, all my clients with whom I've had the opportunity to interact and build relationships over the years. I think what I've learned over the last 18 years is relationships and your network would count at the end of the day, right? It's not the technology. Skills you can always build on to new stuff if you have the passion and the curiosity to learn. So those have been my fundamentals. I'm not deviated too much from my fundamentals even today. And that has kept me like pretty much stable and steady. And it's a very organic growth, to be honest, right? I've seen during the whole COVID period, people kind of exploding with the job opportunities, going for big, heavy lump sum packages, right? Without really focusing on the core skill sets. And that's something which also has given me a lot of learning as well, right? So I'm pretty happy right now, in a very happy space, focusing on building a team where I can build more architects into the ecosystem. And 2016 is where I got introduced to the Salesforce community, thanks to Zachary Jeans, who was doing a Salesforce India tour back then.
Mhm.
And during my initial phase of Salesforce career, I was too much focused on building my own career, building my own skill sets, educating my team members within a conference room, and getting myself financially stable. That was my only focus area. But when I got explored or introduced to this whole broader community, right, and I started asking, okay, what do I have within me which I can share with the broader uh, team out there, right? And basic things which came to me was I kind of crafted my journey because I had this mindset of three things. One is how can I keep on continuing building my knowledge? Second was how can I listen more? Because a lot of these discovery sessions, requirement gathering sessions made me realize that you have to be a good listener as well. So third thing was how do I communicate or articulate my thoughts well, right? And a lot of these relationship building exercise, network building exercise needs you to be a good in your communication. And I explain this to in all my sessions as well, that communication to me is not speaking good English. Communication to me is able to articulate your thoughts in a way which whatever is there in your mind is out there, and you're able to make the other person understand what you're trying to convey. That is basic form of communication. Now, whether you do it through your eyes, through your expressions, through written emails, through your talk, is a different form of how do you express. But if you can express what's going on in your mind to your team members, to your clients, to your onshore team, your job is done. And the reverse is true as well. If you're able to listen, if you're able to understand, if you're able to analyze, that's another form of communication as well, which people kind of miss, right? They jump to conclusions, they jump to solutions the moment they look at requirements. If somebody has said something, they take it to heart, right? People kind of get emotional about their solutions because they're very associated to a tech. So all of these things help me to build my content around D2C, which is what I took to the community in 2017-18 timeframe. I prepared my own content called D2C, which was 3-part series. First was why consulting mindset is important, how it will differentiate you from your peers, and how it will help you build a long-term career within Salesforce. Second was why pre-sales is important. I explained the whole basic steps of going through a pre-sales lifecycle. How do you go about reading through the requirements? How do you go about raw estimates? How do you go about writing a proposal response document from scratch, right? Nowadays, we want everything ready-made, right? We pick up some sections from here, pick up some sections from there, try to put through a document together within 24-hour period, right? Because that's the nature of today's businesses. But back then we spent like literally line by line writing through the proposal document. That whole exercise also helped me evolve as a professional. So roughly around pre-sales lifecycle and then the delivery lifecycle as well. Because we as devs, admins, architects, we are so much engrossed in our day-to-day world that we forget that there are a lot of parallel moving things in a project lifecycle which we don't get a view of, right? And we think that our life or the user story that I am developing is the world for me. But there are so many other moving pieces, like just like a machinery, right? You need to understand which part is moving where. It's a teamwork is a well-oiled machinery which is working in tandem and then producing outcomes, right? So that's how I kind of put it together. So yeah, that campaign kind of people liked it because I was talking about their day-to-day stuff, the stuff which impacted their day-to-day project work, the stuff that impacted their day-to-day growth in their career, right? That really helped me get closer to the community and got me the visibility in the Indian Salesforce community, at least because they never had content around how to think about something. They always had content about how to solve a particular problem. So the how versus why part is something which I created a differentiator for myself and a brand for myself around D2C. So yeah, I'm looking forward to coming up with new content based on my experiences, because that's what really I only have is experience that I've gathered through all these years, which is I wanted to share more and more with the broader ecosystem so that they can benefit out of it as well.
Where do you post this content? Is it like YouTube or different developer groups and stuff like that?
I do mostly live sessions. So it will be out there on YouTube. I don't have my own YouTube channel. I don't have my own website. I'm a bit unconventional in that fashion. Given that I'm an MVP, I've followed a very unconventional route to all of this. I've never been a developer group leader or an admin group leader. I've never been a CGL ever. I'm based out of Mumbai, but there are very few meetups where I've visited for the Mumbai developer groups as well. So you'll not find me in a lot of meetups, but you'll find me in every conference out there, because I'll always be speaking on something or the other. When I was doing my D2C campaign, I traveled across at least 8 cities, major cities of India on my own, and did this 3 to 5 hour long sessions. Like I was doing a mini conference in itself, covering the consulting mindset, pre-sales lifecycle, and delivery lifecycle.
Because this is very important, because I also see a lot of people, even experienced guys, they focus too much on technology, but consulting aspect is not there. They don't try to understand what customer wants. They just try to pitch in what they know, right? So that is where consulting helps, and kind of calming the customer down and making him understand the power of the tool.
Yeah, and the thing which I observed in the community, right? Every conference you go, you'll find a fresh audience. Right? Yeah. It's not the same audience. Like 20% of your folks in a community conference are the same folks who are like doing community work. So you'll find those same faces. But 80% or 75% at least is a fresh new audience who will attend a conference for something. Recently, I was at Bangalore Dreaming, right? And I did this session around consulting mindset all over again. After 6 years as well, the content was so relevant to that audience. Like many of them walked up and said that this is very basic and nobody's talking about it. This is what we wanted to hear. And in 20 minutes, I'm a firm believer that if you get 20 minutes or 30 minutes, let's not boil the ocean, right? Yeah. Let's stick to basics because in a conference where you're hopping between sessions, there is a very, very limited attention span that you can get. And people want to network and talk more. So you don't overload them with content, but give them something which they will realize or at least take away 1 or 2 things from your session. And to me, that is the success mantra of mine. Like I've been very lightweighted on my content, but mostly talking about practical things. And I bring in my practical experiences from projects where I've learned something new or where I've gone through a situation where people can relate to it. I'm a kind of a presenter who kind of want to engage with the audience and understand the pulse of the audience, because if they don't take away something from my session, the whole part of they spending their valuable 30 minutes or 40 minutes into my session, their time has to be valued, right? And that's been my constant push to all the event organizers as well, like focus on the quality of the content, not the quantity, because quality of the content is what will make your event a bigger success, because people have to talk about the content as well. So yeah, that's where I am, and let's see where the next steps are.
So yeah, are you focusing more towards AI, data cloud or something, or just kind of soaking in what is going on around the ecosystem?
So AI and data cloud, yes, obviously there, because that's been part of our day-to-day stuff, right? But more than that, I'm more focused towards right now enterprise architecture, on how to build my skill sets across the enterprise. Last 2-3 years, I focused on AWS, bit of GCP as well. Now with this whole AI revolution through it, right? I'm more inclined right now to understand deeply around the data architecture as well, because data is really the fuel of it. AI is the application part of that data, right? And there is so much. I think data is a big ocean out there, and the more you deep dive, more you'll learn more and more things. So I think right now my focus is more around enterprise data architecture, on how big systems are implemented, what are the challenges, and then you put data cloud into that perspective. I think you'll get a very good view of what's happening in the ecosystem, where data cloud stands, what are some of its competitors doing, right? And that really gives you a good view of then going back to any of your clients and advising them on stuff around the AI and data cloud, right? There's a lot of these low-hanging fruits around AI, which kind of brought this to the whole world's notice, right? But I think AI has been there in some form or shape for many years now. It's been there for quite some time. The reason it got popped up into the world's horizon was because of its quickness and the applicability of it. People were getting wowed with how soon and how fast you can deliver stuff now. I think just like cloud revolution, when it happened, people were hesitant to move towards cloud. AI will become the next cloud for us. It will become a part of our day-to-day lives. Nothing is, I won't say nothing is going to change. The way we will interact with the applications, the way we will use data will obviously change. And I think that's where the curiosity to learn new stuff will keep you afloat, right? So yes, the skills needs to be, you need to reskill yourself in some aspects, but the core of you as a professional still remains the same. It's curiosity, it's passion to learn something new, right? It's applying how technology can impact human lives. If you look at it from that perspective, it will be very simple for you. Salesforce success is because they simplified on how you can build applications on a platform, how you can take those applications closer to your customer, right? And that's the fundamentals of any technology or any technology to be successful, right? Whether it's AI, Salesforce, or data cloud, the recipe here is how sooner or faster you can take it to your customers.
Yeah, and how they can benefit from that, right? That is the core.
Yes. Ultimately, it's the end user, right? So that's something I preach in my sessions as well. Like when you are a developer or an admin or an architect, you're not solving for your customers only. You're solving it for the end user who will use your application. So when I'm building a LWC or I'm building a form, I will always keep the end user in mind on how they're going to interact with my application, not the client stakeholders who are instructing you to build something, right? So the reason is because when you keep your end users in mind, you'll start asking relevant questions.
Yeah.
And those relevant questions will make you a better consultant at the end of the day. So don't just accept what you're getting to hear from your on-site counterparts or your clients, but have those relevant questions in mind so that you get a complete picture of the requirement before you come up with solutions. And that's the basis of what D2C is all about. How do you think about a problem statement? How do you come up with relevant questions before coming to a solution? And always be in a position to justify your solution, right? You should be in a position to explain your solution with data and facts. Yeah. They think concept doesn't work, right? If you want to be successful and you want to become a better architect, I think the focus has to be based on data and facts. Either it has to be a documentation written somewhere, it has to be a proven experience where you do a POC or a feasibility check and then you say something, or it has to be based on documentation, which is based on facts. Otherwise, there's no reason why somebody would trust you on your words, right?
Yeah.
So
great, thanks for insightful discussion, Rupesh. So I would like to discuss more about Dreamforce since it's almost like 3 weeks or 4 weeks, almost 3 weeks, right? So
yeah.
Any tips for somebody like myself who's visiting for the first time?
Wow, you're visiting for the first time, Dreamforce?
Yeah.
Awesome. So it's going to be very big, huge. I know it's scaled down post-COVID because of obviously the health reasons and all of that. But for the first-time visitors, mentally be prepared that it's going to overwhelm you with the amount of people around you and the sessions that are happening in parallel. It is overwhelming for anyone who is visiting for the first time. Second is the basics of any first-time visitor is be comfortable in what you wear. Obviously, because it's a corporate conference, it has to be business casuals, but then wear comfortable shoes because you'll be walking around the whole city for next 3-4 days, right? So you'll never have moments of taking rest, right? So you'll be always on your feet. So take something which is more comfortable for your shoes, comfortable for your feet, so that you don't drain out by the end of the day. Typically mornings, there will be some breakfast on another arranged by community stuff. So keep an eye or a watch out for posts that are coming in on social so that you can visit those breakfasts and do more of networking. Evenings, again, same goes for dinners, parties. You'll find a lot of them to join and do your networking. Between breakfast and dinner, there will be a lot of sessions where you'll have to run from one session to another. Typical thing which you observed is first-time visitors, they want to attend almost all of the sessions, and it's never going to happen. It's never feasible to run from one end of the hall to another end of the hall, right? And it's a wide space. So don't overpack your agenda with a lot of sessions. Leave some enough breathing space between sessions so that you can do networking along the way while you're moving from one place to another. Attend sessions which you think will help you grasp something immediately, or which is on top of your mind, because all of these sessions, most of them are going to be recorded sessions and they'll be available online as well. Challenge is very few have the time back to go back and attend those sessions online as well. So I understand the dilemma of attending it in person versus going back and looking at the videos, but pace it out, right? Don't be too harsh on your body and your mind to consume everything at one go. It's more of networking focused event in those 3-4 days rather than content consuming. You'll find some big announcements coming from Salesforce, which will be the headline topics, right? So as long as you're following those headline topics, you should be good, right? And then you can obviously take notes once you're back if you want to deep dive onto something specific. If you want to meet someone from the community whom you have been admiring, or you want to meet someone whom you always wanted to meet, this is the right platform where you can book one-on-ones with them. And don't hesitate before you book one-on-one with anyone, right? Just reach out to them on their social. The community out here is very welcoming one. Nobody is going to ignore your request. So at least if anyone out there who's listening to this video, if anybody wants to set up some time with me, just DM me and I would be more than happy to have that connect with you, and getting to know more of you in person would always help, right? I would like to take this to also announce that every year, the Indian Salesforce community comes together for a picture at the Moscone West with the Indian flag. We organize this every year. This year also it will happen on Monday, 15th of September. Sorry, 16th of September at 5:30 p.m. PST. That's the time.
It is on 16th.
It's happening on Monday. I think Monday is 16th of September.
I'm landing at 2 p.m. I'm not sure I will make it.
Okay. So yeah, it will be a bit tough for you. The moment you land, I think you'll be going to your hotel check-in.
Yeah, I didn't knew that, I should probably reach a couple of days earlier. I planned it pretty tight. I'm not sure why.
Yeah, normally I go it on Sunday afternoons so that you get some time to rest, and then Monday onwards, something or the other is happening. Monday is that buffer day where everybody wants to meet, everybody wants to plan their stuff, right? And then Tuesday onwards, Reinforce kicks off. Wednesday, Thursday evening again becomes lighter. Post afternoon, everybody has their flight back. So I typically travel back on a Friday evening, keeping again 1 day buffer so that you have any meetups planned, anything you want to finish off before you check out is something you should plan always. And yeah, I mean, stay hydrated right throughout the event, because there will be a lot of talks, a lot of chit chats, a lot of walking, a lot of steps that will be done. So always be hydrated, take something or the other along with you. Carry a water bottle if you can. If not, then at least ensure you're having a lot of fluids through coffee or whatever you like, right? So those are some basic stuff which you should take care of. And otherwise, I think you'll love the event.
I was part of this Sydney World Tour this year. So it was also like pretty overwhelming, 15,000 folks, but I think Reinforce will have more than 50.
It will be at least 4x, 5x the magnitude and the scale. Yeah. Just one more thing, the keynote is pretty crowded. People line up at least 1 hour, 2 hours before the keynote starts. So if you want to get into the room and watch keynote live, you have to be there early on Tuesday, early morning. The keynote, I think, starts at 9, if I'm not wrong. That's typically the timing, 9 or 10, but just be there early so that you can get in. there's always a struggle of getting into the keynote room and watching the keynote live. I mean, people choose also to watch it on screen in different parts of the city, but I think it has its own ambience of the keynote room and the
Especially
big
when you're visiting
screens
for
out
the
there
first
where
time.
you can.
Especially when you're visiting for the first time, you should at least once.
Yeah, you should. I would highly recommend it. You watch the keynote by being in the room rather than looking it in the outside spaces of the Dreamforce. But you'll love it. The whole experience part of it is awesome. More than anything, you'll meet so many new people. It's overwhelming. It's by the end of the week, you'll be all drained out, but there will be so many good memories that you will create. It's really awesome, and I always look forward to getting back to Dreamforce every year. So, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people have started reaching out on LinkedIn and or maybe some emails, and I reach out to some people. So it's amazing. I think we'll meet definitely a lot of people, understand their perspective, mindsets, and understand how
Yes.
communities, the global communities. Perfect. Sounds good, Rupesh. Thanks for taking out time and for this insightful session. And looking forward to seeing you at Dreamforce.
Looking forward. Safe travels, Sanjeet. And I know time is of crunch, but if you can come to Moscone Center on Tuesday,
I'll try my
on Monday
best.
evening, I would definitely love to see you there.
I
In
thought that
fact,
it
last year
was
we got some of the Salesforce execs as well. Our Salesforce India CEO was there in person with us for the flag pick, and it's always a special moment for Indians to show up there in numbers and take a picture with our flag, right? So I look forward to see you there and have a great time. Thank you for once again for hosting me and inviting me for this podcast.
Thanks, Rupesh.